Yay, 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 yay. Oh my gosh. I am like, this smile is just because it's genuine and I'm super, super happy. I have as a special guest Leah Finity, all the way from the Hollywood, California area. And I am thrilled because Leah and I have actually not had a lot of opportunity to actually just talk and converse, but I have followed her on social media and we met kind of in the acting world. And she is like, you see those people that they're just a light and you want to kind of know what they're doing and the creative expression and everything. She's one of those people. So Leah, thank you so much for being here, and just tell everybody a little bit about, I know there's been a lot of transitions and stuff happening for you, but for people that don't know you at all, just give us a nutshell of who Leah is.
Oh my God. This is where I freeze, is when people are like, tell me all about you. And I'm like, ah. But yeah, I started out acting kind of related to what we're going to be talking about, as an actor. And then probably 3 years ago, I started writing. And so I wrote a screenplay first, and then a play, a 2-woman play that I produced and put up. And then I wrote another full-length play, and I'm currently working on another feature. And so I've come down to LA. I didn't want to, I resisted it, but that's kind of been my story with all creative things, is there's been a lot of resistance from me of like, oh, I'm not in the right place yet, or like people aren't going to like me, or, there's been a lot of that, and kind of pushing through and doing it anyway, and then seeing it's not so scary.
Okay, I love that, pushing it through and doing it anyway, because I think you're right. Everybody has that to some degree, the fears of whatever, and what are people going to think, or the resistance to. And so what has been, because I'm similar to you, of just like push my way through, and how would you tell other people that maybe don't have quite that desire to just push? Is there like a baby step that they can kind of take to push past that resistance and really basically walk through those fears? Like, what are some good baby steps that we could take?
That's a good question. I kind of, this isn't going to sound like a, this isn't going to sound that great, but it is positive that in my head, I kind of have like a little drill sergeant, Leah, and, but in a totally positive way, like, because I already know what I want. Like, I'm like, oh, I want to, for example, like, oh, I want to be working out, but I never want to work out, like at the time I'm like, oh God. And thankfully I've helped develop this little voice in my head that goes like, Leah, you're going to get up and you're going to do it. You're going to walk in that room. You're going to put on your shorts. You're going to put on your shirt, and to take it one little step at a time. So even while I'm doing it, I'm not thinking like, oh, I'm going to go work out. My voice is like, just go put on the shorts. Just go put on the shorts, put on the shirt. I put it on, then the voice goes, all right, now, get your keys, get my keys, and I don't know how really that developed, because it's been super helpful for me. It's an asset. And my boyfriend, who's also very creative, it's like right now I'm trying to help him develop that internal voice, because I can see that's where he gets stuck. It's like he has super clear dreams of what he wants. It's just in the moment, whatever he's doing, like the instant gratification of like, oh, I'm just going to sit here and watch some YouTube videos, or I'm going to sit here, and rather than working on the things that I even really want to be doing, how do I get myself there? And so I think like, man, I wish I could just insert this little voice in his head that would go like, Jesse, you get up right now. You get up, you fire on your computer, and you start writing. It doesn't matter. You just start writing. So I don't know that I have the answer for people, but I would say if you can help develop that voice, even in little ways, because sometimes even the things we want to be doing, there's like, I don't know what it is, this weird human thing where, even though you want it, it's so hard to do, you know?
Well, I love how you said it's the instant gratification versus this long-term fulfillment.
Yeah.
And so, having that, like, oh, but I feel like doing this in the moment, but I know that X, Y, and Z is better for me in the long run, or I'm going to feel more peaceful. I'm going to feel more free. It is going to contribute to my happiness.
Yeah.
And push through that resistance. It's so funny that you're talking about the drill sergeant and the voices, because I'm doing an open mic tonight, and it's just a storytelling thing, right? And so I'm telling a story about driving a race car with my boyfriend. I got him a gift, and you get in a NASCAR and you drive around the track, right? And the instructor told us before we went out, he's like, listen, I'm going to tell you right now, you think you're all sweet and everything's good. When you get in that race car and someone passes you, Darth Vader gets in your head and is going to be like, destroy him. And you have to really, change that voice. So I'm doing this whole speech around this voice of Darth Vader that tells us you're not good enough. You're going to fail. You're going to look like a fool, like all the negative, destructive voices that we hear. And instead, focusing on our Yoda voice instead, which is our wisdom and our love. So I just love the timing of you saying that. And literally I'm working on that as we speak.
Yeah.
But so for you.
And I just want to clarify that it's not, because that voice that tells me to do that is not judgmental at all. If it was, it wouldn't work. It's like, you got to do it because you're so stupid, or because, you never do anything or whatever. It's just that voice knows what I want. And it's like, I'm going to get you there. I know what you want, and I'm going to override and help you get to what you want, but it's not, there's no shame. There's no judgment. It's just a very matter of fact voice.
I would say it's your intuition. I mean, just if we were to put it in words, your intuition or your highest self, which is actually what I wanted to ask you. One of the questions was, if you were to envision your highest self, your best self, how would you describe her? Who is she?
I think that she doesn't have all the hangups that I do. She doesn't doubt, like that. Leah doesn't doubt herself ever. She feels very confident and secure in who she is, and isn't, swayed by other people's opinions, but is also, doesn't have judgment on anyone else or what they're doing, doesn't take anything personally, doesn't get offended by anything. Like, it's just and sometimes when I'm meditating or something, I'm like, I know that a part of me is that person, who, no matter what somebody throws at me, I can just have compassion for them and their situation and go like, if I was living their life, I would be making the same decisions as they are, and just accepting that. And it's hard. I mean, I think that Leah also lives in the gray zone. Like, there is no right and wrong. There's no, black and white. It's just, everything is messy and complicated, and it's all okay,
Oh, what a good answer. No, I exactly know. And kind of that living in the flow of life and the acceptance of what is, and also the going with your intuition and moving forward on the things that are just placed on your heart. They're just there, and you go, okay, I'm going to go toward that. But it doesn't feel forced. It's not like I got to make this happen no matter what. And speaking of not forcing, we were talking about before recording a little bit about creativity. And I really want to touch on this because I believe as creative humans, like, we have the capacity to create. What your feelings are, because what you do is very creative. And so how do you work through some of those blocks with creativity and just putting out your best, most intuitive work without the judgment and self-condemnation and all of that yummy stuff?
Yeah, so some of it is that I don't expect myself. I've realized that, like, I used to think, oh, if I can't sit down with like a blank page or and just start generating ideas, that there's something wrong with me. I'm broken creatively, because a really creative person would be able to do that. You know, a really creative person would be able to sit down and write a script without, you know, just from nothing. And I've realized that, I mean, and there very well may be. For me, it's really helpful to create some parameters within which I can be very creative. So like one of the things I would do when I was feeling stifled writing wise is I have this little box, what's called the Storymatic, and it has like these little cards with random words and random types of professions and things on it. And I would pull out like 3 cards and lay them down and then flip them over, and they're all just random. And I would think like, what's some story that I could tell that would weave these things together, you know? And now I'm like, it's given me a creative problem to solve. And now my brain's kind of firing with ideas of like, how is this firefighter related to this bouncy house, related to, you know, this piece of gum? Like, oh, what's a story I could come up with that would incorporate those 3 things, you know? And so realizing that I have to also create the environment within which I can be creative, you know, and just starting from nothing and sitting. And sometimes it's like things like, I'll be like, I think I'm just like, I've been sitting in my own apartment too much. Like I need to get out and take a walk, you know, go to a different location, and just acknowledging that that doesn't mean I'm not a creative person. It means I'm a human being, and new stimulus will give me new ideas, you know?
Yes, new stimulus, changing your state, changing your environment. And a lot of times I think when people are dealing with high depression or anxiety or different things like that, I know at least for myself, I've resisted those things. It's like we were talking about before, even though we know that they're good for us. We know that if we meditate for 5 minutes or go out on a walk for 5 minutes or do some stretching for 5 minutes, we're going to feel a little bit better. But yet I'll still resist when we're in, you know, in that state. But what is one super just interesting thing that people may not know about you, or that they might be a little bit surprised to hear about you? What's just an interesting fact?
Well, I don't know if this is what you're looking for, but I'm always surprised that people, I think the way people see me is very different than how I see myself. And I've recently tried to like merge those things together. But I think other people see me as like a super confident, like go get 'em assertive person. And Jesse, my boyfriend, could tell you, like he sees all the sides. People don't see the times that I'm collapsed and crying on the floor. And I'm like, I'm so like, I'm not creative, and all the things I'm making are stupid and so stupid and dumb. And they don't see, but I've realized that that's just a part of my process. And I think maybe for everyone, but I think especially for women, because I've talked to other creative women, and it's like, oh yeah, we all kind of have this thing where there are waves. And I used to not allow myself to hit the bottom of the wave. I'd be like, no, I've got to be creative. I try to force it. But what I've realized is that there are moments where I'm like really feeling it. And I'm like, oh God, I feel really creative and I can lean into it. And then inevitably I hit like a low where I'm just splayed out on the couch crying and talking about how I'm like the least creative person in the world and I suck and nobody likes me. And so my boyfriend used to be like trying to rationalize with me in that place. And I'd be like, no, I just need to feel this. I need to hit rock bottom emotionally. And then I'll come back. I know that I'll always come back, but I have to hit that low to be able to rise again and be creative again. And so now he just kind of sits there and goes like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, yeah, it sounds so hard, you know, and doesn't try to talk me out of it, because he realizes that's just part of my process, is that I have these, it's just waves, you know, and being okay with that.
Yes, writing the way, I think that's something that I don't know if it socially has been ingrained or what, but the non-expression, the like stuffing of feelings, and you know, these things don't exist and I'm fine and I'm up here. And I think it's so detrimental. I'm telling you, since I have started expressing myself more. And even speaking, I used to, actually, I still do. If something hits my heart in just the right way, I'll start crying. And, you know, I used to apologize. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, and try not to cry. And I just go, man, that's me. And like, why are we stifling ourselves and our energy and what is? And so I think what you're saying, just finding that freedom to allow for expression of all types, not just I'm happy and I'm good and I'm joyful and I'm creative. And, you know, like, no, sometimes it sucks and we're on the bathroom floor and we're crying. And I mean, I can totally relate to that. So thank you for sharing, because I think a lot of us feel these things, but again, it's not the type of stuff that we put on social media necessarily.
Well, and I think, you know, the more that we accept that that's just how it is, like that, I've stopped viewing it as like as bad, you know, when I feel that way, when I feel overwhelmed with heartache or sadness, you know, it's a way that I'm feeling right now. And so then I can express it, and it really does, like, it releases. And then I'm now moving on to a different feeling, you know? And I think that in the past, when I would either be ashamed of that feeling, or sometimes I could really indulge myself, you know, and lean into the feeling that would keep me there so much longer, you know? And maybe in a way I liked that, because I really wasn't releasing. And so I felt this need to kind of be self-indulgent with myself about a feeling. But now, you know, it's like, I can feel totally devastated and, like, honestly, 5 minutes later, be like, I think I feel okay, you know, and start pulling myself up out of it. Because I've just like, it just flows much, much faster now.
And what would you say your why is? Like, what is your why for your creative outlets and, you know, writing and acting? And what is that that's behind what you put out there?
I mean, like, the answer that I think would sound good would be, you know, to make the world a better place and to, like, help other people. But I think what it is that I'm a very feeling person. Like, everything about, like, all the personality tests I read and everything, like, I'm just very in my feelings. And I think that acting, writing, all of the creative pursuits, it's like fun for me to deal with the world of feelings. It's fun for me to create feeling problems, to solve feeling problems, to experience what someone else must be feeling, you know, to put, like, when I'm writing, to put characters in situations where I can go, like, what feelings are coming up and how are they bouncing against each other and stuff like that. So it's not some big profound answer, I guess, other than, like, I find it really fun and fulfilling for myself, and hopefully other people, when they see it or watch it, go like, oh, that made me feel things, or I know a little bit more about myself or something. But from a very selfish place, it's just me playing with my feelings.
I think that is the best answer. No, I really do, because I genuinely think that self-love, and when we're able to truly love ourselves, value ourselves, give ourselves the things that light us up, that we're passionate about, that is going to trickle out and create a better world. I mean, that's how I view it, because just in my own past experience with life, and then watching other people, when you're passionate about something and you could tell you love it and you're sharing from your heart, there is nothing but good that is going to come out of that. So I think that's actually an amazing answer. And okay, so really quick, I have two last questions, because time just like flies by when I'm talking to you. But so the first question is, I know that you guys you acted in a movie that did really well, that came out on Sundance, I think, right? And has been picked up. I'm not exactly sure what's going on with that. So I just want to hear how that process was for you and kind of what's going on with that. And then I have the one last question for you.
Yeah, actually, it was funny because we had just, like, literally, we shook hands saying that we weren't going to do any more projects for free. Like we weren't going to do any more shows, like unless it would have to be giving us something in return, because we realized we were kind of like spreading ourselves thin on all these projects that weren't giving much back to us. And then the script landed in my lap and I was like, this is really good, but it was deferred pay, you know, and I was like, could we make an exception? And that's when we decided, okay, so either it has to pay us or it has to be really something of value to us. You know, like we really love working with the people, or, you know, we really believe in the project. And we really did believe in this project, but it was just these two guys who co-wrote, co-directed. They were basically the whole crew for the majority of the film. But we really believed in them and it was really fun. It was a fun cast. Like it was a very fun experience. None of us expected that it was going to go to Sundance or that anything on that level was going to happen with it. So it's been kind of surreal. It would have been more surreal if we could have gone to Sundance in person, you know, doing it virtually, but very surreal to have that happen. And yeah, it was picked up by Magnolia Pictures, and they're releasing it next month. I think they're doing like a limited theatrical release and then it's going to be streaming, but it's been a pretty weird and wild little ride. It's true.
Oh my gosh, I cannot wait to watch it. It's called First Date, right?
Yeah, yeah.
First Date.
Mm-hmm.
I am so excited for you guys for that. That's just amazing. I know several people besides you two on that cast, and it sounds amazing. So that's awesome. And I love that too, just that lesson of, you know, we put our boundary up, we're just going to do things for money. And then something comes up and you're like, well, wait a minute. And again, that intuitive, maybe that's just going to be fun, or the, you know, choosing it for something other than money also is a cool thing. So it's just following that intuitive inkling that each person has. And it's just different, you know.
You know, while you were talking, what that made me think of is I think, like, I realized that there are like two groups of artists. They're either the artists who are like, oh, I'll do everything for free, you don't have to pay me. Like they, you know, they kind of like push away and don't believe they're worth anything or feel uncomfortable with people paying them. And then there are the artists who are like, you know, I'm only going to work for these people. I need to get paid this much. And most of the people, like when I'm imagining all of these artists in my head, it's almost always reversed of what it should be. Like the people who believe that they deserve so much, actually, probably you should go back and start doing like internships or working for free to try to get the experience, you know. And the people who are like, no, you don't have to pay me. I'm like, you're worth something, you know, you need to realize what you're worth and put it out there. But of course it's scary to be like, what am I worth? But once I started doing that, once I started going like, really, I do have worth, and what is it? Things started happening, like things started falling into my lap. It was like the world, the universe, whatever, wanted me to realize and accept that, you know, go
Totally.
like, I do deserve more.
Yes, 100%. And I actually remember, because I used to love to act when I was younger, and then just stifled all of those creative expressions because of fear for my entire adult life until I was maybe 37. And then I remember getting paid for an acting job and feeling like, oh my gosh, that's amazing that you can actually make money from something that feels like fun and play to you, but that there's value in it. And that's basically everything that I do is fun and play and hopefully a little bit of value in it. And it's just like such a cool way to set up your life and, you know, live flowing through business and personal, all kind of meshed together, I guess. Okay, so last question. If this was like the last thing you were going to say right now that would make an impact on somebody's life, what are the thoughts or the few words that you would just want somebody to know if literally you would not be able to tell them anything else after this?
You know, one of the sayings that's so simple, and I'm sure everyone's heard it a million times, but one that that I've seen kind of crack people open time and time again is you're good enough. And I think a lot of people just don't believe that in whatever area, that they're not good enough to be loved. You know, they're not good enough to be accepted the way they are. They're not good enough to pursue the thing that they want to pursue. They're not good enough to be in a relationship or to have the career they want or to be happy or whatever. So yeah, I would say certainly if somebody hears you are good enough and it tugs at them or feels uncomfortable or something in some way, to just sit with that and explore that.
Oh, as you said that, and literally my eyes filled up with tears. I felt it here. I felt it here. Yes, that is, I think at the end of the day, us not feeling good enough is debilitating, and it really impedes us from living the amazing, powerful, loving life that I think each of us is truly meant to live. So uncovering that, the essence of who we truly are, you know, lifting off the fears, getting below the past trauma and the hurt, and connecting with that, our true essence is the thing of life. That's my belief. So you touching on that to me is huge, and that's why I knew I would love to interview you and talk to you. I think we are kindred spirits, and I just, again, thank you so much. I think you're amazing, amazing. Keep up the creative work. I know that you'll always get back in the ring, even when you're lying on the bathroom floor, like I do also, so I can so relate. And just keep giving the world Leah and all the just goodness and amazingness that you are, because it is beautiful and special. So thank you.
Yeah.